This will be part 6 of the bending brake series. I fast forwarded through most of the machining operations of this because it's, in all honesty, not very interesting. If you've got any questions or comments about it, why, let me know. I've done a voiceover on a lot of the things through this video. There's a few little clips where I've done it in real time, but let me know if you've got any suggestions or comments. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Here I'm just aligning the two pieces for the front bending leaf. There's the angle iron and the 1/2 inch by 3 inch flat bar that goes on the front. I'm just centering it up here. I'm going to go ahead and bolt them together, and then we're going to mash drill them in the mill. We've moved it into the mill here, and these get drilled for 3/8-16 bolts to bolt it together. I believe there's 13 bolts through the length of this, and then the 4 hinge bolts that bolt the hinge to the leaf. What I'm doing is just drilling and tapping for the bolts in both ends. Then I'm going to go back and drill a couple more to hold the alignment. Then we'll go ahead and finish drilling out all the rest of the holes and pull it out of the mill, and then we tap it to get everything anchored together. Once those pieces are positioned together, we can go ahead and align and drill and tap these to bolt them together to match. It can be done in your small drill press. You can actually do them freehand if that's your only option, although it's a little bit harder to get everything perfectly aligned and hold alignment with them. Nothing we're doing here is exceptionally critical, except we want the top of that angle iron and the top edge of that flat plate to be flat bed. Now we've got it clamped in position. I'm going to go ahead and do the layout for the holes along there, and then we'll set it back up in the mill. I'll probably drill 1 or 2 more, go ahead and drill and tap them like I've done now, and that way it'll be anchored in place. We'll make sure we've got everything in alignment, and then I'll go back through, punch 5/16 holes all the way down through, then go back and separate them, drill my 3/8 holes through the angle iron, and then I can go back and tap them all at once, save a little bit of time, and by then we'll have it locked into place. And here I've moved it back out to the welding table just to hand tap the rest of these holes. I think I've got it bolted together with about 4 bolts that I did when I had it set up in the mill. That'll hold alignment with everything. Now I've just gone back and I'm tapping the holes for 3/8-16. Once these are all tapped, I will go ahead and set it onto the front of the brake, and we'll clamp it in place, hold it in alignment where we want it, and then we can go ahead and fit our hinges. Here I'm setting it up on the front of the brake. I'm just clamping it in place. Of course, this is easier with 2 people, but since I'm here working by myself today, I'll go ahead and fight it into position. I went ahead and clamped it in place on the front edge of the mill where it's going to go. What I did was took 2 scraps of angle iron, and I just clamped them in the leaf of the brake so that they extend out the front a little bit. That way it aligns that bending leaf. I just push them up tight against it and then clamp it in place, and that's where the leaf's going to sit in its rest position. And then we'll go ahead and start fitting the hinges to it off of that. Here we've got it pretty well lined. If you just take your time and work it back and forth into place a little bit, you'll get it where it needs to be. Here's just some still photos of the hinges, left and right hinges. These are just the rough cutouts. These are just the pieces of angle iron. I put 1 at each end that I clamped into the leaf. I pushed the leaf up, the bending leaf up tight against the bottoms of them, and that holds them level with the bed itself. These are the hinges clamped in place. We're going to form up the handle. All I'm going to do to give my radiuses, I've got 2 pieces of pipe. I've laid out my lines here. I'm going to weld 2 pieces of pipe onto the table, and I'm going to weld a backer piece in there. Then we'll just take and heat up the radiuses, and we'll turn around and bend them. Then we're probably going to put a little slight upward cant in each of the ends so it kicks the bottom out when it's on the brake rather than just hanging straight down. Here I'm just welding my pieces of pipe onto the tabletop. I went ahead and tacked them in place. It's just a scrap piece of pipe that I had. I cut off one end, which is why the one piece is so much shorter than the other. I don't see any sense in wasting the stock by cutting it in half. There's not necessary to solidly weld them. All we're doing is just making a temporary form. We're going to pop those off when we're done and grind them smooth. Here I'm just heating up those pieces to bend them. I've just got the rosebud tip on the torch, and all I did was heat them up cherry red to a long enough length so I get a good radius on both ends of it, and we're going to bend around the first piece here, and once that's done, we'll go ahead and flip it around like we've done the other end and repeat. I've set that out there's layout lines chalked onto the table, so that shows where I want to bend them. And you see the one ends of the jigs actually popped loose, but we've accomplished what we needed to do. And I'm just setting it back onto the table, so I've got the length of the handle that I want, and clamped it in place. And I'm going to go ahead and heat the ends of that and just bend them down to give the little bit of kick out angle I want on the bottom of that handle. I could have left it hang straight down, but this is a little more easier access and doesn't take up any more room, and I think it's a little classier look than just leaving the handles hang straight down. Once this is all formed to the angles that I want, why I go ahead and there's two pieces of pipe welded onto the bending leaf that is a receiver for these two ends of the handle, and I shortened the handle itself up a little bit. That extra length on the top is more than I need there. I shortened them up and went ahead and made them fit. Here's showing pieces of that receiver. I'll go back and drill and tap these just through the front. I think they show a cotter pin going through each one in the plans, but I don't really think we need the cotter pin. So I'll just go ahead and drill into that handle and tap. Thanks for taking the time to watch. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe. Go ahead and leave comments, opinions, and any questions you've got. I'm more than happy to hear your input. Thanks for taking the time to watch.